Welcome back everybody, Matt the Man here, hope you're doing well. So we have a new movie. Hey, of course we do. That's why you're here. New movie came out on Friday, Priscilla. This is the story about Priscilla Presley, who hooked up with Elvis and her marriage, or her life with Elvis. This is directed by Sofia Coppola. I'm not a huge Sofia Coppola fan. I really have only seen two of her movies, Lost in Translation and The Bling Ring, back in 2013. So I'm not a huge, oh yeah, a new Sofia Coppola movie is out. Let me run and go see it. Yeah. No. But I wanted to see this, obviously, like I did with my Elvis review. I haven't been around Elvis, but my father is a huge Elvis fan. He listened to tons of Elvis music, especially when we were growing up. We had the little ornaments to put on the Christmas tree. So I was a fan of the Elvis movie that came out last year. So once again, this is still being in the Elvis family. I thought, why not? Priscilla. It looked like a very interesting movie. It was very more artsy, kind of like Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette with Kirsten Dunst. And it looked interesting, so I wanted to see it. So I went and saw it yesterday, and here are my thoughts. Number one, positives. Cailee Spaeney plays Priscilla Presley. She's in her 20s right now. But when you watch this movie, you really believe, especially at the beginning, that she's a 14-year-old, only in 9th grade. Once again, Elvis met Priscilla when he was 24, she was 14. That's a huge no-no nowadays. And probably back then it just wasn't frowned upon as much. But Cailee Spaeney really pulls off that very innocent, I don't want to say childlike, but teenager, young teenager, but innocent. He's very innocent, very, like a virgin. I mean, and Cailee Spaeney is not that tall, so she really pulls off that very young, childlike look, personality, very almost like fragile. You don't want to break her. And I'm not, especially Jacob Elordi, who plays Elvis. Jacob is like 6'4", 6'5" in real life. He towers over Cailee Spaeney. And that's almost the whole, I'll get into that in another segment. But Cailee Spaeney really brings this character to life, that you really believe her as Priscilla. I thought she gave a great job, even though it was a very subdued performance. But she brings so many layers in that performance that I thought she did a great job. That was one of my negatives with the Elvis movie with Austin Butler. We didn't get that much of Priscilla Presley in that movie. Here, this is all about Priscilla. And I thought Cailee Spaeney did awesome. This is very much a character study. Like I said, this is more of a smaller film, independent kind of feel, artsy feel to it. And it's definitely a character study of this young teenager going into this larger-than-life world of the Graceland and the Presley family. And just how this, how she thinks like, oh, I'm hooking up with my crush, my Hollywood crush, my favorite celebrity crush, Elvis Presley, and it's going to be wonderful, everything's going to be great, sunshines and rainbows, and no, it ain't. It's not what you think it's going to be. I really like that aspect. I mean, we all think that, like, oh, we're gonna hook up with our Hollywood crush or whatever, professional football player, baseball player, what have you, and everything's going to be hunky-dory, great, sunshine and rainbows, and then, or you see in comic book movies, like, one of the best things about Spider-Man 3 was that whole thing of, now that Mary Jane Watson is with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, she's always wanted to be with Spider-Man, and then she realizes he's never home. He's always out saving the day. I'm home alone all the time. That's kind of what we see from Priscilla. Elvis is, on tour, or Elvis is acting in a movie. He's gone for weeks or months on end, and she's alone. We see so many shots of her just in this giant house, mansion, Graceland, and she's just alone. There's so many shots of wide shots of this giant room that she's in, and she looks so small in this room. And I thought those were the moments that I thought, this is a really interesting character study here. This movie has a lot of themes. Like I said, your first crush, or that crush, that your celebrity crush, it isn't all that it cracks up to be. There's a lot of loneliness. You really see a theme of, she's surrounded by all these people in this house. And even when Elvis is there, Elvis, his father, other people that work for Elvis, his bandmates. But even when the house is full of people, you can definitely tell that Priscilla is lonely. She feels so lonely, so alone. She can't have anyone over to the house. It's security reasons. She feels like a prisoner. There are so many... The way that Sofia Coppola makes Graceland almost like a prison rather than a home for Priscilla, it was very interesting. Very, like in a very artistic way of showing a different side of this relationship. Like they treated her like a child, not someone who was married to Elvis, because she was so much younger than him. I love the cinematography in here. It's very almost like a soft tone to it. I liked it. The look almost shot on film. It just has that quality to it. Like I said, a lot of wide shots of Cailee Spaeney in a room and making her feel small. And that was really good for cinematography, for showing you the headspace. And even though she's in this house, she's like this, she looks small compared to everything else. It's like Elvis towers over her. This whole family, this house kind of looms over her, overshadows her. And I really like that feel. Like the production design, wardrobe, top notch. The cars, the Chevys, the 57s, the 50s, the 60s. The cars, my dad had a 57 Chevy, so seeing those cars in the movie, I was like, okay. The movie's only an hour and 53 minutes. I thought it was a great pace to it. The Elvis movie was over 2.5 hours, and I thought that movie could have been shortened. This movie, I actually think the pacing is perfect. It could have even been a little bit longer. And I love the final song in the movie. I love how this movie really does, the beginning is the beginning of their relationship when they first meet, to Priscilla, saying, I want a divorce, I'm leaving you, and she walks out the door. And this is not a spoiler, it happened in real life. It was also in the Elvis movie. The movie is really their relationship from beginning to end. And I love the song at the end of Dolly Parton's rendition of I Will Always Love You. I think Whitney Houston's version is great, but with this movie and this tone, and most of the movie is at Graceland. Um, and get a little bit more of that southern feel. Putting in Dolly Parton's rendition of that song was perfect. And the song itself, when you listen to that song, it really encapsulates this entire relationship perfectly. So I thought the song choice was like right on the money. My main negative is Jacob Elordi, who plays Elvis. He is not Austin Butler. Austin Butler was Elvis Presley. He got his voice to sound like Elvis. He even sung the songs. And he even looked more like Elvis than Jacob Elordi. Luckily, this movie isn't focused on Elvis, but he is in the movie throughout. And I just didn't buy him as Elvis at all. I think he's a good-looking actor. He is. He would be perfect as Bruce Wayne or as Superman in a comic book movie. But as Elvis, and it's funny how a lot of the scenes when he is talking, he's not in the shot. the shot is somewhere else in another room, and you just hear his voice. Which I thought was also another he ain't cutting it as Elvis. And there weren't that many Elvis songs. That was another thing, when they did have songs, I don't know if it was a rights issue that, because of the subject matter making Elvis look like the bad guy in this movie, that the Presley family was like, no, you're not using his songs and to destroy our father, my ex-husband or whatever. But there were very little songs of Elvis's. I think they only had one or two of the, I didn't even know they were Elvis songs. I was like, oh, I never even heard that Elvis song before. But they never used any of the more popular ones, like you hear in the Elvis movie. Overall, I would still give this a 4 out of 5. I think Cailee Spaeney did an excellent job. I think, in the character study and the themes and the cinematography and set design, production design, wardrobe is all great. I just think they should have I wish they brought in Austin Butler to have him play the few scenes of Elvis and maybe have some more Elvis music in here. Did you see Priscilla? Are you a fan of the Elvis family? Did you like the Elvis movie now that came out last year? Are you a fan of Sofia Coppola? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, Matt the Bat here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Matt the Bat.